Okay, well, we made it over to my stepdad's house, and we got the got his engine in the stand that I built, and we had to make some modifications. So here's what it looks like. Obviously I was right, these were way too high, so we cut them down 6 inches. We had to cut these bars down and make it shorter. We needed to be 32 inches wide. I can give you an angle on it here. We needed to be 32 inches wide on those front wheels because we had to get it through this door right over here, which measured about 34 inches. So we cut it down to get it through there, and yeah, it came out pretty good. Almost made that too high. It's all the way down, so to lower it anymore I would have had to cut that off and redo it, and I didn't want to do that. So it's still up a little high, but it is good and solid. I can grab a hold of it and it doesn't move. And oh, as far as moving it, I can just grab a hold of it, just turn it around this way and just push her along. Actually, we've been pulling it by the tail, so here we go. You can just drag it over this way, drag it around here, move it around anywhere in the shop that we want. So I think this is going to work out pretty good. Next step is to get this engine back together and fire it up. So we've got a little bit of work to do on that. We need to get all the oils in it. Got to do the fuel system, cooling system. We're going to throw an exhaust on it so it doesn't bellow on us. Though it would sound kind of cool. I don't know, we might fire it up without a muffler on it. I always like to hear the sound of them without a muffler. They sound cool. So we'll take the belt off of the power steering pump. We're not gonna turn that. But okay, well, we've been working on the 289 here. We've got the starter circuit and wiring all set up and ready to go. We've tested it. It turns over. We've got the ignition set up and ready to go. We've tested fire on it, and we do have fire. Carburetor, we've primed the fuel pump up, and we've got fuel coming into the carburetor. I can see the accelerator pump is squirting fuel in here, so we are ready to bark this thing off. We're not going to run it very long, but we just want to see if it'll fire up and run. So we are going to kick it off. All right, here we go. Okay, she runs. It's noisy without any exhaust or mufflers on it, but I love the sound of that. That is so cool. It's not idling yet. We've got a big old vacuum leak back here that we've got to plug, and we need to get a radiator and exhaust and everything else on it too. Oh, we're gonna put some gauges on it too so we can see the oil pressure. Before we started all of this, before we even put the distributor in it, I made this little doodad here. It's a socket that hooks to the rod on the oil pump, and we spun the oil pump with a drill and built up oil pressure, and it filled the oil filter up and put it in there. We probably wouldn't have needed to do that, but it hadn't ran in a long time, and I wanted to get oil pressure in there before we fired it up. So okay, we are gonna set up a time lapse and finish getting this stuff on here, and then we're actually going to run it for real. We're going to warm it up, and we're going to flush the cooling system out. Okay, well, the battery on the camera died again, and we were so busy trying to get this thing going that we didn't notice it. But I got the temporary wiring for the fan hooked in here. We got the gauges on it here. So these are actual gauges from a kit that my stepdad bought for the truck, and these are the gauges he's going to run in the truck. And the gauges match the sending units up here and down in here. So we wanted to use these gauges to do a couple things. One, make sure the gauges actually work, and number two, so that we could actually get some vitals off of the engine. Mike, why don't you go ahead and turn on the instrument? All right, you guys, okay, shut it off, Mike.
There we go.
All right, so that drops to 0. Turn it on again, and there we go. The instrument goes to 0 just like it should. All right, so we're gonna fire this up. I'm gonna give this thing I'm gonna operate the throttle. So we did have this thing running yesterday with the exhaust and everything on it. We can't get it to idle, so we've got a carburetor kit coming for the carburetor, but we're gonna go ahead and just run it and warm it up again today for you guys. So I'm gonna give it a dousing there, and we are ready. Mike, hit it. Today it decides it wants to idle, so we're actually going to try to put a timing light on it. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Okay, well, now that I got you guys on the tripod, I'm going to bring you over here a little closer to see that our fan is kicked on. I don't know if you can see that in there or not. Our fan is kicked on and we're actually cooling because our temperature is now up to proper temperature, 180 degrees. And it's sitting there purring like a kitten. I don't know the difference that they make. Yeah. I guess it just needed to be warmed up yesterday. Alright, we're going to pull the back of the fans off here. Get that timing light set up. Make sure I'm not hitting the exhaust. Yep, you're above it. Okay. So we've got a kit coming for this carburetor, but it won't be here until like the end of September, so it's gonna be a while. That's okay. We just wanted to start it, run it, get it warmed up, see how everything was. We've got no leaks on the engine, that's good. We were able to get it timed today. We weren't able to do that yesterday. So I think just getting the carburetor rebuilt will be okay. We do have good oil pressure on it. Rev it up, it's got 50 pounds. Sitting there idling, it's got 35, so we're good there. Temperature's a little warmer than we like, but we're not running a thermostat and we're in a enclosed building, so it's getting kind of warm in here already. All right, everyone. Well, we are back. As it turned out, my stepdad couldn't wait for that carburetor kit to get here because it was not going to be here until end of September, something like that. So he decided to go ahead and buy another carburetor for this. The previous carburetor was, well, it just wasn't getting fuel into there right. We did get it to idle, but that was about it. Revving it up, it was kind of rough and stuff. So he just decided to go ahead and get another carburetor here. So we've got that installed on it. We've got it outside. We're gonna heat it up and flush the coolant system out in it. We also made a couple other changes. Last time we didn't have the alternator hooked up. Now we do have the alternator hooked up, and we've got the fan tied directly to the alternator, so we get close to 14 volts instead of the 12 volts to run the fan faster, because it was getting a little hot on us. So we wanted to got to digging into it, and they say on these fans you should hook them directly to the alternator. Increase the voltage, you get about 20% more flow through the fan. So we're gonna do that now. So okay, I think we're ready to fire this back up. We've already turned it over, got fuel into our carburetor, and we should be ready to go. Mike is gonna grab his voltmeter and check the output on the alternator, make sure we're getting the proper close to 14 volts. It shouldn't be quite 13 and a half, 13.8, somewhere in there. All right, one other thing too. We located our starting buttons and our ignition switches and stuff over here on this side of the engine, so that we could more easily get to the throttle on the engine. So I think we're ready. We got gauges, and so here we go. We're gonna let the whole system drain out. Okay. You might want to cut that water off. Okay. Well, you probably heard it blubbering a little bit there when we would rev it up and start shaking and stuff. What we found was that the points were not set right, so they were set to about, I don't know, 30 thousandths, and they needed to be at 15. So we readjusted those, and it's a lot smoother now. I'll show you here in a minute. We got the radiator flushed out. Our water is now nice and clean, and I think we're ready to fire it back up again. Absolutely runs beautiful. I'll rev it up here a little bit for you so you can hear it.
by. We're hoping the rings will seat back in, but it may not. It was a used engine when we got it. I don't know where it came from or what the history is on it. I got it in that Mustang, so I don't know, maybe we'll dump some ring reconditioner down it or something, but it's holding 40 pounds of oil pressure at an idle when it's warmed up. Goes up to, oil pressure bounces up to about 55 pounds when we rev it up, so it's good. It's hitting on all 8 now correctly. So I think we're ready to actually put this thing in there. Whenever my stepdad, and he's standing behind the camera now, out of the line of fire, but as soon as he gets that cab painted, we can get it on that frame. We'll get this thing back in there. So I think that's going to be it for this video. So as always, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time.